Hi there, this is Eternal King. I want to talk a little bit about Cycle Targon and specifically why that deck is so strong. So this is an example of like a proper deck, right? So a proper deck essentially looks at the cards that exist in it and they all serve a purpose, right? So you can have your Cosmic Call. Now again, this should not be 8 mana for its effect. This should be 9 mana. This could be 10 mana and it would be more appropriate in terms of what it does. This card should not exist outside of a ramp shell. It should not function outside of a ramp shell. Because basically what it ends up happening, and I'll show you what the meta list looks like. It can be Zoe, it can be Aphelios, it can be Victor. It doesn't matter what champions you use because these cards don't matter, right? Aphelios dies, he gets enough value just with his, one card summon. Zoe dies, she gets enough off of one strike. Victor dies, doesn't matter, he's just a body that draws resources from your opponent. Samara dies, doesn't matter, you get a ping off of it that you can usually just discard out of your hand for value. So again, none of these cards matter. None of these cards are good. In fact, they're terrible. So the entire cycle deck simply functions off of this, Cosmic Call. Cosmic Call essentially having the cost of all your invokes and essentially allowing you to invoke an infinite number of times and have them cost like 5 mana, right? So I have an example of a game where I was playing against Cycle Invoke and I was absolutely mopping the floor with them. I outplayed them every step of the way. I board cleared them with my It That Stares. I board cleared them with my, Crystalline Storm Raptors. I board cleared them with my Aurelion Soul Champ spell. I buried and iced them. I must have board cleared them something like 6 times in a single game. I played my Field of Rushes, and I got my Tryndamirs and A-Souls, and my A-Soul was leveled, and everything was going great for me. But the thing is, they invoked enough times that they simply drew something like 6 comets, or 8 comets, and you can do that in an infinite cycle deck. Just draw infinite, obliterates, and have them cost almost nothing. And so at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that your deck does nothing. It doesn't matter that your champs do nothing. It doesn't matter that the entire deck is garbage. It functions simply off of Cosmic Call. And that is the hallmark of a broken card. That a single card can make any other deck that is actually synergistic irrelevant by being so powerful in an a-synergistic shell. So again, yeah, run your Zoes, run your Aphelioses, run your Victors, run whatever you want. You can run a Braum, in your Invoke shell, because again, the champs don't matter. Run a Nash, run a Kayla, run a Pantheon, run a Tarek, run 0 champs at all. And it doesn't matter because Cosmic Call. Cosmic Call off of infinite invokes in your deck. Just have more invokes than the opponent in a Cosmic Call deck. And again, I was trying to make this ramp deck competitive. I included Cosmic Call. I included one of Celestial Trifecta. I still wanted to do the Tryndamir A-Soul thing. I wanted my champs to be impactful and to matter. But again, it's just invoke an infinite number of, and I'll show you the card. Actually, I can't actually pull up the in total invoke list, but there's a 9 mana card that allows you to obliterate 2 things, and you can basically invoke an infinite number of them in a cycle shell. So doing that is 100% better than playing an actual deck. And when that becomes the case, that cycling is better than an actual shell that makes sense and plays cards, Again, I'm running the new 5 mana board clear. I'm running, the buffed wording stones. It's not that this deck is bad. It's just that it's worse than running nothing at all, right? It's worse than, A-Soul and Tryndamir are worse than not running them in the shell that they should be run in. And Cosmic Call is worse in the shell that it should be run in than it is in literally a deck that does nothing but cycle. So, at the end of the day, you can just type Invoke into the card selector and just jam them in. Just jam all, but behold the infinite. That's fine if you get discounts. Just jam every single Invoke card that you can into the deck. And that's better than running a synergistic shell. So that's the definition of broken right now. And it turns out that even compared to something like Lee Sin, which again is a highly synergistic deck, it's a little, one-dimensional in terms of what it does, but at least you can say it's a synergistic deck. It turns out that Infinite Cycle Targon is literally better than every other deck in the game right now in Eternal. And it's all thanks to this. Just, Invoke. Definitely don't do that. That's too much of a commitment. Cosmic Call, Behold the Infinite. Again, you don't run this one, but you definitely run this one. I literally saw someone run, Starlit Epiphany because it was just like, I know that I can win if I just invoke more than the opponent. They ran Starlit Epiphany just so they could have 20 copies of Behold the Infinite off of Cosmic Call. That's how strong they know this card is. That they're willing to replace their entire deck with cycling rather than run an actual list. And that's really bad. I can't really stress how bad that is for LOR as a game. That it's better to run 20 copies of this and 3 copies of this than it is to do anything else. So, just don't play the game, I guess, in Eternal. Like, just don't build decks. Don't try to make a deck. Don't try to include any of the 30 buffed cards in the last patch. Don't try to play any champs that are all in, Don't try to synergize. Just Behold the Infinite after Cosmic Calling once or twice. Just Behold the Infinite 20 times. Sounds good. Sounds good and balanced to me. So again, this is Eternal King signing out. Beware that having an entire format defined by infinite invokes is not fun.